And, she was such a quiet, very smart girl, loved everybody.
Do you have any idea, and I take it she had a diary and that was burned?
They didn't say it was a diary. They said it was emails or some old crazy stuff, they said.
Well, see, this would be anything that would show she had any relationship with anyone in her unit or any complaints or whatever. If this could be, I would suspect this would be very important evidence about who might have had a motive to kill her.
Right. And the thing about it is that we had some news people who did some preliminary work with talking with witnesses. And we had, as you know, my daughter's story was in Marie Claire magazine. And those people from Marie Claire said they talked with some witnesses that knew LaVena, and they said that she didn't talk like the Army said she was talking, like she didn't like her life and she wanted to die and all this kind of stuff. They said that wasn't true. And we had a guy who was originally at CBS. He was investigating this story. All of a sudden it was dropped. He ended up leaving. He told us he got fired, but then he told the news media, told the guy from the LA Times that he had a better offer. But, that's not what he had told us. And he actually talked with a person who said that LaVena was murdered and that they were covering for the person who did it. So it's some people out there that know the truth. We just haven't had them to come forward yet.
Did you get any hint about why they would be covering for the person who did it?
I'm sorry.
Did you get any hint as to why the Army would be covering up for those who committed this offense?
Yeah, there are possibly three reasons. Number one, if the weapon that shot LaVena was a hand revolver, then you're talking possibly three people in the Army that I recall that carry handguns. And that would be your military police, possibly your medic, and your officers.
Yes.
That would be possibility number one. Obviously, they don't want this bizarre murder, heinous crime to be exposed, because it wasn't just a rape and murder. This was somebody who, for some reason, resented her or hated her. Maybe knowing LaVena, he probably said something like, "I'm going to tell my daddy." And boy, that probably, just infuriated him, if you know what I'm saying.
Of course.
And then it escalated at that point. And
yes.
The poor thing, she didn't know what to do,
Right.
And so that would be the second.
Well, she would have been powerless to defend herself.
Yeah. And she fought admirably, though, because she really put up a good fight. And that could have been problem number three. She fought back, and they resented that too. This is somebody who, if they weren't stalking her, they asked her out or whatever the case may be, and she probably rejected them, and they made a determination, nah, she's not going to get rid of me that easy. And so,
what was problem number two? Number one was the weapon being a handgun.
Yeah.
And number two was?
Probably they don't want this out, that this was the kind of murder that it was, brutal. I mean, yeah, they're talking about rapes in the military, but they haven't really discussed the murders. And if they do, they would have to get into how brutal this one was, because it was horrible. And then, of course, the third one would be probably, who knows? They already got one issue of rape, but they sure as hell don't want to escalate it to murder, because they're already having a problem with recruiting. And then on top of that, this is a minority female.
Yes.
That escalates the problem even worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, everything you say about this case absolutely hangs together. I mean, I think you have done a good talk about thorough and complete. You're the one who has done the thorough and complete. I think it's shameful that this Christopher Gray would make such a blatantly false misrepresentation about the case from the point of view of the Army.
Right, yeah. But, they're following orders, and my guess would be, just to give you an indication, the medical examiner who did the autopsy at Dover Air Force Base, he didn't put all this physical trauma in the autopsy, but he think he covered himself, because his opinion, that goes at the end of the autopsy, he said, in my opinion, this was a suicide based on the information I received from the criminal investigators.
Yes.
So he didn't. He almost did what that's what they said,
This is like it's done in the intelligence agencies. They have a planted source, and then somebody comes out and says, "Oh, I agree with that planted." The source not knowing it's planted, the public not knowing that, thinks you have a convergence of opinion of two different sources.
Yeah. And my guess is, I told my brother, I know by me working for them, I know what they do. They get these cases, and when if one works for them, they file it away. And when a scenario pops up and it's similar, then they pull that piece of paper out and try to make the round pegs fit in the square hole.
Yeah.
And when it don't fit, they chip it off at the edges to try to make it fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for lack of a better analogy right now.
Well, my surmise would be this would probably have been done by someone in her own unit.
Yeah.
What unit was she in at that time?
The 129th Infantry. I think that was the name of it. I not remember it, but it was. She was in supply, and there's somebody in that chain of commands for sure.
120th.
I think 129th.
129th Infantry.
Yeah, if you some of that information that's on the website really identify where the unit she was attached to.
Well, I think the Army has powerful motives to conceal these cases along the lines you suggest. They don't want people to know that women are being subjected to sexual assault. They want to discourage recruiting. They don't want to allow information about minorities being victimized to become public knowledge, because that's so incendiary that the American, there's a disproportionate number of blacks in the military as it is because it's a voluntary force, and if it becomes generally known that a young black woman like your daughter, who appears to have been a fine young woman, could be raped probably by several men, brutally assaulted, murdered, and then be set afire and having the caustic material poured onto her vagina. This is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
This is a horrific case, Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, I know, and it's no fun for me having to go through these pictures, but I do it consistently because I'm always looking for new evidence, and I've got some people that work with me, and they come up and we get together occasionally, and one person asked another question that we start questioning. What happened to her dog tags? She wore them all the time. She wore them when she was home, but not in the pictures at the crime scene. Another thing. So
she's going to commit suicide and then take off her dog tags?
Yeah. And the other thing is she used her debit card to buy the M&Ms, the chaps, the lip balm, and the soda. And I questioned them more than once. What happened to her debit card? And they just shunned over that question like they don't have to answer it, in lieu of the fact that it's in their report that she used it.
Well, Dr. Johnson, my heart goes out to you. I'm so sorry that this has happened to your family. This is a terrible tragedy, but not only a personal one. It's an offense to the American public that the military should cover up a crime of this magnitude in its own ranks and not bring the perpetrators to justice. They may be repeating these kinds of assaults on other women in the military with a sense of impunity because they've not been punished for the offense in this case, which was so manifest and so obvious that for it to be papered over is a complete disgrace.
Yeah, I felt that way. I really did, and I thought, man, this is insulting. And I've done talks, and I tell people it's not only insulting to us as a family, it's really insulting to the country. It's insulting to the Constitution of the United States, and it's insulting to the other people in the military that don't participate in these kinds of crimes.
Dr. Johnson, I want to thank you for coming on the program and for telling us about what happened to your daughter, LaVena. And I'm just so sorry about this, but I'm so grateful to you for sharing your experience with me and with this audience.
Yeah, maybe we can work hard enough that we can get some things changed, and we can get some things changed, then maybe we can save somebody else's daughter.
Let us hope some good might come from this.
Yes,
I thank you. I thank you, and my best wishes to you and to your wife.
Okay, and thank you a lot. Just ask the audience to pray for us.
I will do that, and I thank you so much, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
This is Jim Fetzer, your host on The Real Deal.